Hi, and welcome back to Bounce Forward with me, Tiff Hall. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm recording this podcast, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to elders, past and present. Sue came to me with a great question. I would love to know your thoughts on juice detoxes, Tiff, or any type of detoxes. Do they actually work? Do they have a place in a routine at all? And I want to touch on a few TikTok trends and things in this little chat, but the concept of detox diets, wow, they're there to eliminate toxins from the body. And it's popular definitely in wellness circles, but I know a lot of medical experts and professionals and dietitians and sensible PTs will say to steer away from detoxes. But I thought I would start by sort of doing some of the pros of detoxes because a lot of people bash them and there are some pros. The first one is that it does encourage you to be more aware of your healthy eating habits. So you're increasing consumption of fruits and vegetables. So if you're blitzing, your favorite fruits and veggies into a green juice or whatever, there's a lot of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants in there that are good for your health. So it's not a no-no. And then you've got the reduction in processed food, which is great. You're reducing unhealthy fats, sugars, additives. That's a good pro. You got that focus on hydration. The fluid intake is so important, and it really emphasizes you to measure your fluid intake and know exactly how much you're drinking. And that's great for your kidney function and your overall health. And then you've got a really good mindful eating aspect here that you can, how different foods affect your body and potentially lead to long-term, choices. You may recognize that you're having way too much coffee and want to detox from the coffee or something like that. So there are some pros there. But let's have a look at the cons as well. So number one, there's a lack of scientific evidence. It's a pretty big one. There is little clinical evidence to support the effectiveness of detox diets and eliminating toxins. The human body is already equipped with organs like the liver and the kidneys and the lungs and the skin that effectively detoxify and eliminate waste. So I don't know. There's not a lot of evidence to say that we even need to do a detox. Then there's the restrictive nature and nutritional deficiencies, which I get worried about. Many detox diets are extremely restrictive and can lead to an extended period of just being silly with your food and not having enough nutrients. It results in low energy, breaking down that precious muscle, which is the fountain of youth, and decrease in immune function. So you don't want any of those things. And I remember I had a client once who had anorexia, and I was trying to help her. And one day she said, I'm on a juice cleanse without the juices. And I was like, oh, okay, this is dangerous. Like, she would do these detoxes and cleanses until the point where she was just actually not eating and not even doing the juices. So it does put you in potential harm because you're not having those healthy eating patterns. There's also unregulated products out there, detox products. They're not regulated by the health authorities, right? So you don't know what's in them. And I always say steer clear from, skinny tea and I don't know what others, but yeah, not great. You could see some short-term weight loss, but you've got to remember it's water weight, not fat loss. So you're going to be dropping lots of weight due to the detox, typically because it's the fluid loss, not fat loss. And it's quickly regained once you start eating food. So it's just not really worth it. And then I go back to my other point, which is the risk of disordered eating. It's extremely restrictive. It promotes you to feel deprived and therefore crave things. And so I worry a lot about the disordered eating patterns, and it's expensive as well. Detox programs, detox products are very expensive with a lack of proven benefits and not really anything to justify the outcomes of them and the results. So you got to think, where am I going to put my money? Do they work? Well, like I said, nutrient intake, I think adding a green juice or smoothies into your diet is a great thing, but you also need to be having food. You also need to be eating your regular meals and having lots of fats and fiber and things like that. They can be good for blood sugar levels, definitely. Fruit-based juices, great to spike blood sugar levels. That's awesome. Weight loss, I reckon take that off the table because you're just going to lose fluid. It's not really going to help fat loss, I'd say. And I don't know about detoxification. Like the scientific evidence is just, it's very controversial. So then there's potential risks as well of digestive health issues, unsustainable weight loss, eating patterns, nutritional deficiencies. Those things are really scary. And I found this statistic that a new survey of Gen Z users found that 56% of them go to TikTok for health and wellness advice, and 1 in 3 make it their main source of health knowledge. And that just freaked me out. No, 56% of them. So social media has significantly influenced the popularity and the perception of various health trends, including these juice detoxes. And so whilst they are marketed as beneficial for health, the portrayal on social media can have lots of negative impacts. So you've got to be aware of misinformation and unrealistic expectations, misleading claims, oversimplification. And then you've also got to be really aware of the lack of essential nutrients and insufficient fiber and all those health risks that I mentioned of having maybe even developing a detox dependency where you're regularly participating in these detoxes that lead to an unhealthy cycle of extreme dieting followed by binge eating because you feel so restricted. There's also psychological effects, body image issues, pressure and anxiety, the economic impact. I mean, it is huge. So I say you've got to check your source, check the credentials, check their experience. Is this person an expert in their lane? Like if it's a cardiologist spruiking, detox juices, you've got to think, oh, well, that's not really their expertise, and are these fitness professionals or wellness influencers qualified? Do they even have qualifications? Can you dig deep into them and find anything at all? Are they being paid to give you advice? You've got to take all this on. Now, TikTok fads are particularly harmful, and I see a lot of them. There is a new fad diet called the Rice Challenge, which sees people soak rice in hot water and add lime juice before drinking the leftover liquid first thing in the morning. And the drink is meant to suppress your appetite. In my opinion, it is not a great supplement or meal replacement. There is not enough nutrients, no dietary fiber, no fats, no essential nutrients like macro or micro, and it's essentially just carbohydrate water, which you can actually buy on the market. You can get like a powder, which is pure carbohydrates that you add to water. There is no protein. This is not good for you. And people are claiming that they're losing a lot of weight on the Rice Challenge, just really drinking this starchy water. But again, what weight is it? Is it water weight? Is it lean muscle mass? It's not fat loss. I can guarantee that. Generally for sustainable weight loss, you want to be losing about 0.5 kilo a week. Anything more than that, it's not going to be sustainable. And I really worry because there is a clear correlation between social media and eating disorders, and things like the Rice Challenge being promoted on platforms such as Instagram and TikTok. It's really targeting children and young people in their 20s and in late teens. And I worry about that. And the real problem for parents is that it's using food that are staples in the pantry. So you're not going to really realize that your daughter or son are doing anything really dangerous by just drinking this, rice water because it's just something in the pantry. It's not a new food, or they're not. Yeah, it's hard for parents to identify that. I've also seen something else on TikTok, and it's young girls are adding weighted wristbands to their wrists to do blow dries so that they get toned arms. So I asked myself, can weighted wristband blow dry outs really tone your arms? So let's look at it in detail because I just think they're doing it for attention, honestly. arm burn from blow drying your hair wearing wrist weights isn't going to tone your arms because the motion isn't really isolating the triceps or the biceps or shoulders or really working them in a proper way. So to get the burn of the muscles working, you need a proper movement. So you need eccentric and concentric movement, which is the contraction of the muscle. And you need these proper movements, right? Just kind of holding your hands up and blow drying your hair. You might get a bit of an isometric hold and a bit of endurance and a teeny bit of endurance and maybe a teeny bit of lean and toned muscle, like just a tiny incy bit just from holding your arms up, and it's more endurance. But to get toned arms, you really need that progressive overload, which is more of a principle of increasing the load in your strength training over time and continuously stimulating that muscle adaptation and growth over time. So this can't be achieved by just putting weight wristbands on your wrists and blow drying your hair. And I actually tried it this morning. I washed my hair fresh because I knew I had a day of podcasts and stuff on today. I have the wristbands and I put them on my wrists and my arms ached. They felt heavy from holding. It was a bit of an endurance hold, but honestly, it's not enough to stimulate the muscles into changing or adapting or burning fat or anything like that. I think that it's another TikTok trend that is just seeking attention and putting out misinformation out there. And young girls now are feeling like they have to go buy wristbands to wrist weights to dry their hair. It's just so ridiculous. So I think the moral of this story is to have your eyes wide open when you're on social media, to ask credentials, ask yourself questions, and never just do a diet or a detox because someone tells you to. I think that they can be very harmful and that the cons absolutely outweigh the pros in this scenario. Thanks so much for listening to Bounce Forward. I love having your company, so please DM me on Instagram at tiffhall_xo and let me know what topics you'd love me to cover and send me all your questions. Don't forget to rate and review me on the podcast app. Speak soon. Happy days.